So like, hello my peeps, this be Chicken Man here, and today we're gonna find out what is up, what's going on, who's Jasmine, what happened to Tangerine, everything. So, stick around, cause we're diving into chapter 6 of Season of 12 Colors. The afternoon had been sultry. I tossed about trying to get some sleep. The piece of paper came into my sight once again. If the goes backwards, could reverse and touch blank. The concussion, blank, overlapping, blank, a closed zone. I didn't think anyone could make sense of this. I read the last line. Although blank, not yet blank understood. But Daddy told me it's good to know blank. Daddy will definitely succeed. With the terrible handwriting, it had been the only sentence readable. Who wrote it? When? The letters were written so clumsy. It reminded me of... Jasmine? I mean, not Jasmine, Tangerine. Hey, teach me this. Please, do you own homework? Please do your own homework. So we live in an age where even kindergarten children had homework to do during summer vacation. And seriously, shouldn't this be taught in primary school? Teach me. Clutching my sleeves, Tangerine clung on to me. Alright, I took the notebook and it had doodles all over it. Wow, never seen such poor handwriting. I muttered complaints about it when I was helping her with the homework. That's why I got you to help, right? I don't know what there's to brag about. Just for once it'd be acceptable. After all, we had promised Jasmine we would go play with her after Tangerine finished her homework. I didn't want to keep her waiting. I speeded up. In the afternoon, rain fell on and off. The heat had gone away a little, but I still couldn't sleep. Yes, the same weather as that day. Whoa. The little girl was so scared that she jumped all around and plunged herself in my direction. Hey, would you stop clinging to me already? I couldn't walk. The weather had not been kind to us. Fat raindrops had started to fall without warning. Oh hell, it looked like a good day for hill climbing. I ran towards the direction of home, dragging the little orange girl with me. What about Jasmine? The little girl's cry was muffled by the sounds of the rain. I pulled my shirt over her head to protect her from the rain. We ran. There had been only one thing on my mind. I needed to get her home fast. Of course, I ended up with a bad cold. Fits of non-stop sneezing. My head felt heavy with dizziness, but what hurt my pride even more? Little Tangerine was perfectly healthy as always. Was it because she was so young, or could it be that she was brought up in the countryside? Either way, she told everybody the same thing. My big brother protected me. Well, to be honest, I was more than a little happy. But would you give up tending to me already? I'd appreciate it if you could simply let your mom do it. You said Jasmine? Sure, we can go say sorry to her tomorrow. After all, it was not our fault that it rained. Phew. Eh? The umbrella? What umbrella? Wasn't it over there behind the door? Jasmine, what about her? What? Did she have an umbrella? Perhaps? No? Hey, listen, don't just run away like that. And it was a sunscreen umbrella. That girl never listened. What happened after that, I could not recall. Or perhaps I just refused to. I ran after her in the rain. It got me a bad fever. Had to be escorted to the hospital in town, took ingestions and drip feeding. The whole thing had been quite overly dramatic. Could have killed me, it seemed. Me? I didn't remember a thing, because when I woke up, it was already a few days later. The pain lived on in my chest. There was nothing I could do. If I could have done anything at all. I stared at my palm, tinted with blue ink. There was a word. It was the rain-smeared paper that had left the letters on my palm. The color was faint, barely readable. I made it out at last. T-I-M-E. Time. Blank is like a straight line. It only goes one way. Time is like a straight line. The line of time, linear time. Comparable to strings from a winder. It only stretched into one direction. It would not go backwards. It would never stop to wait. However, would there ever be an exception? Timelines could cling? For instance, caused by some kind of disturbance, the line bended. When blank and different blank in a short period, it was possible to... It went backward, extended into where the past had been, and brushed past it. Everything bursted out, all the memories, all of the fragments came together. Slowly they started to combine into one. Time is like a straight line, it only goes one way, but occasionally there have been exceptions. Disturbed lines could cling to each other. When timelines in different directions start sinking in a short period, I braced myself up. What is this? My head was still burning, though it couldn't bother me less right now. The fragments were not enough, but there had been one explanation, one possibility. I ran out the door. The rain-washed street extended before me. The grass blades still had raindrops on them. I climbed the well-acquainted hills. It was not far away. Yes, time would never go backwards. Even at this moment, I refused to believe anything like that. That was clearly nonsense. It was only something made up by my feverish head from some incomplete message on a paper plane. It was absurd. But I saw it. The pathway became entirely different, not compared with the past, different from what I had seen the last few days. I saw it with my own eyes. It had not been a mirage or an illusion. It just appeared these last few days. It never belonged here. It did not belong to this time. The time where the girl named Jasmine lived. If only I could find it. Starting from the future and going into the past. She would arrive to what had already happened, if it would be possible. The little girl named Tangerine, her figure jumped around in the back of my mind. The girl ran, the image of an orange-colored umbrella lost in the rain. If only I could change that. Surrounded by the growth of trees on all sides, I was lost. What I saw yesterday, the different scenery, it was gone without a trace. I looked around. As far as I could see, it had been the same old view. My head burned. All my strength had left me. I had to lean on a wet tree trunk. Was I not allowed to find it anymore? The place where Jasmine lived? A touch of white flashed in the corner of my eye. That it was. I believe I had found it. Surrounded by the woods, there appeared a small clearing, only big enough to contain a single wood house. This place is different.
你好。
Oh? Hello, Jasmine. This is curious. She stood in the middle of the clearing.
又见面了呢。
Nice to see you again. The girl in the white dress, with a smile on her face, she waved at me.
真的是好久不见了呢。
Hey, it's been such a long time. She was smiling quietly, but somehow the smile looked a bit sad. For a moment, I was lost for words. The sunset had colored her cheeks. I had never seen a look like this. Hey. What could I ask for? What could I say? Was there anything at all I could do it to...
我都知道的哦。
I know it all. With a warm smile just like the golden sunset, Jasmine said softly,
未来应该说是过去的事情，还有
The future, or should I say the past, I know it all, and...
那孩子的事情，我都知道哦。
I know about her, about the child, everything. Is this it, guys? Is this where we get our answers? I have so many questions. Her look was that of a mother, gentle, forgiving.
所以什么都不必担心。
There's nothing to worry about. Are you sure?
一切都会没事的。
Everything's going to be alright. Her smile smoothly soothed me just like it did then. All this time, all the disorientation and confusion was beginning to calm down. I started to realize what I wanted to say, that it was not enough. Yes, I wanted to help the child, to do something to the past, yet that was still not enough. I hoped the child would still be alright. And Jasmine told me what she knew. Everything would be alright. That was what had already happened. That was the past, to her. I had the answer I wanted all along. Yet I was still not relieved. There was something. And what about you? Raising my left hand. Once in a while, you should think about yourself. I knocked her with my knuckles on the forehead lightly. I didn't contact anything, though. It was like knocking on air. Nothing.
还有啊，
Oh, and as if you didn't hear me,
兔子先生呢，也要加油哦。
please fight on, Mr. Rabbit. Okay, that gives me even more questions. Despite everything, she went on.
一定会成为一位非常出色的人的。
You will grow into a wonderful person, I'm sure of that. Her brightest smile, like a blessing. Hey, would you listen to me for once? I had no other choice but to accept, smiling a bitter smile.
最后呢？
One last thing. Her profile was starting to fade out. Her voice trailed away.
如果见到昨天的我的话，
If you ever get to meet me from yesterday. The words were a mere whisper, but I heard it clearly enough. And then night had fallen. In the forest I stood, all by myself. What's going on? The dome-like sky, the wooden house, the clearing was filled with the scent of wildflowers and grass. All those were gone. Nothing but the forest remained, like it had always been. Oh, I did remember. I would remember. If I ever saw her again.
请向那孩子微笑着打招呼我。
Please smile and say hello for me. End of main story. I got questions. I did not answer many of my questions. Decode story? Okay, decode. So, yeah, there is a lot of code. There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions. But I'm afraid we're gonna do that today, actually. Yeah. I knew this episode was gonna be a finale, and the finale this episode's gonna be. I don't care how long it takes. We're finding it out, guys. We're piecing it all together. 2004, Tangerine, 6-year-old. Bright, bright blue sky, a summer of bright sunshine. Today, my big brother would come back from town. I jumped up and ran to the door. Mummy was making breakfast. The wonderful smell of... Okay, I don't think they know how to spell... Maybe! Kongi. Is Kongi actually like a thing? I'll tell you guys in post. I had looked forward to it all this time. The figure emerged and slowly became clear. But I wasn't one to wait. I ran up to him. Long time no see. Although he only stayed here during summer vacations, I wouldn't be happier when my big brother was around. Normally I'd been the one to sleep in, but when Big Brother came to stay, I always got up early just to wake him up. He would protest and blink sleepily when I dragged him out of the bed to play. Play? What is there to play? That's what he always said, but in the end he always gave in and played with me. We skipped rubber bands. I skipped, he just held it. We threw beanbags. I threw, he picked them up for me. And together we went for adventures far into the woods. And I like this, just drawn. Well, not that far. The adults didn't want us to go into the woods, but Big Brother promised it'd be alright. I could count on him. That had been the coolest thing I knew. All the talk of tigers, wolves, and bears was a bit scary, though. He kept saying, if you don't walk faster, I'll leave you here, I promise. But he never let go of my hand. The palm of his hand was warm. That day, we discovered a place we had never been. It was like a wide clearing suddenly emerged out of nowhere. With green grass and colorful wildflowers. It smelled wonderful, too. In the middle of the clearing, there was a little house, just like in the fairy tales. It must be the home of fairies. I was overjoyed. Dragging him along, I ran up to it. That was when she appeared before us, the whitey white fairy. Interesting. This is most interesting as the view of a 6-year-old. We see a lot of details, but not everything's here. Big eyes, long hair, wide straw hat, light dress, as pretty as a dream. That is. Had I met her somewhere before? A long time ago? She told us her name, Jasmine. What a beautiful name. And she knew our names as well. It was like magic. Would we play together? Jasmine asked. Of course we would. Right? My big brother was somewhat worried at first. He wouldn't let go of my hand, but after a while we all had a lot of fun together. Jasmine was a bit older than Brother. She had a soft, beautiful smile. But when we ran around in the little house, she would always just sit quietly, looking at us, smiling. Wouldn't Jasmine play hide and seek with us? I shook her arms. I wanted her to play with us so bad. I'm not that good at sports. Looking a bit embarrassed, Jasmine blushed. Okay, now I have an idea. She clapped her hands. Let's make paper planes. It was a long time ago, a summer full of bright sunshine. In the blue sky, a light paper plane slid across it in the wind. Wow, Jasmine's plane flew far. I ran to pick it up. My brother looked like he hated to admit defeat. I laughed and patted him on the head. Actually, his plane was not bad at all. Look, I just brought it back together with Jasmine's. Let's try again, wouldn't we? Fight, Jasmine. Fight, big brother. Then I noticed the sky. The sun was already going down. We had to go home or Mommy and Daddy would be really upset. But I wasn't ready to say goodbye yet. See you tomorrow, Jasmine waved at us. For some reason, she looked lost to me. And then Jasmine took my arm gently. She whispered into my ear. I couldn't see the look on her face, but I would never forget what she said. The words were as soft as a breeze. There was a hint of sadness and loneliness, nevertheless as gentle as ever. Okay.
一定不要离开哥哥的身边哦。
Promise me, please, always stay by his side. Okay. The day was so hot. The air was sticky and stifling. I was in no mood for studying at all. But with homework on... Oh, no, I just skipped that. Jasmine told me to always stay with my big brother. Of course, we would be together every day. Right, I got an idea.
哥哥哥哥。
Teach me this. Nope. Why? Do you own homework already?
人家写不完啦。
But I can't finish. I need to sleep.
可是写不完的话就不能出去玩，茉莉会等急了哟。
But if I can't finish, we can't go to Jasmine's place. She must be waiting. Give it to me.
果然哥哥最好啦。
Ha, I knew my big brother was the best. Hand in hand, we ran down the pathway leading to the hills. So hot, Jasmine must be waiting. The path winded its way through the woods. Come to think about it, we didn't even know where she lived. The sound of shuffling paper came from my pocket. I decided to ask her about it today and to learn from her how to make paper planes. A drop of cool water hit my cheek. We stopped. Not rain, please. At that exact moment, fat raindrops started to fall in full fury. What ended up happening? And there was a thunder. I threw myself to my big brother. Ha! He pulled his shirt over my head and, half dragging me along, we began to run.
茉莉姐姐那边
Jasmine.
怎么办？
What about Jasmine? The pouring rain drowned out my words. He couldn't answer me. He just took my hand and ran in the direction of home. In the end, he caught a cold. Started to sneeze the moment we reached home, even developed a fever. It was all my fault. I felt sorry for him. I wanted to be responsible and take care of him. Imitating what Mom would do, I soaked the towel and put it on his forehead. Hey, would you like some water? Or something to eat? Mummy made congee. Don't kick off the blankets. Be a good boy, alright? I wished with all my heart that my big brother would get better soon. Looking at his sleeping face calmed me, yet I felt a bit disturbed. It was like I had forgotten something important. The rain was pouring outside, hitting the leaves in the garden, making noises. He was in bed, face burned red with fever. He was a healthy boy, yet he caught a bad cold. Then what about... her? For a moment I remembered Jasmine. Was she waiting there by herself? Did she have an umbrella? Where could she stay to get out of the rain? Would she wait there without knowing he was ill? I remembered the lonesome look on her face when she said goodbye last night. I just couldn't stay here any longer.
马上就回来哦。
I'll be back in a minute. Oh no. I said to him. He was half asleep. I took the umbrella from behind the door. For a short while I'd forgotten what she said. Please stay by his side always. I only understood what she really meant a very, very long time after that. Rain was pouring down, forming puddles on the road. It took all my strength to keep the balance of the umbrella. I ran to the place we had promised to meet. There was nothing special on my mind. I just wanted to bring her an umbrella and tell her that my big brother couldn't come today. That was all. Almost slipped in a puddle. Strange, we were here yesterday, but I was starting to get lost. There was a touch of white in the distance. On the other side of the rain, I could see Jasmine. Alone. She didn't have an umbrella with her. I waved at her, but she did not seem to notice. Alright, I'd just run to her then. I needed to give her the umbrella. I stepped out, water splashed in the rain. Jasmine's figure became clearer and clearer. When she finally looked up, she looked as if she was surprised. That was when I slipped and floated as if stepping into a vacuum. The moment I fell, a dark river came into sight, rushing forward in a torrent. What? When I opened my eyes, I saw Jasmine's face before me. Everything was in silence. The sound of rain disappeared completely. Ridiculously, I could hear nothing. In front of me was the dark growth of trees standing silently in serried ranks, and the circle of blue sky above. Even the clouds were motionless. For a moment, I had no idea what had happened. Then I was held into her warm embrace. I looked up to find Jasmine's face. She tried so hard to smile, but she was on the verge of tears. Why? I had no idea then. I just let Jasmine hold me in this world of silence. A few days later, I realized I couldn't go back anymore. Was it 3 days? 4? In this world, that wouldn't have made any sense. Everything was still. Flowers would never wilt. Leaves would never turn yellow. Even the clouds were as if they were painted into the sky. Everything stood still without a sound.
这里是不同的世界。
This is another world. I was so little I couldn't understand a thing. I just listened to Jasmine's words, and the tone of her voice there had been a touch of sorrow.
小菊来到这里，就无法回去了。
Tangerine, when you come here, you cannot go back there anymore. Do you know that? It took me a long moment to understand what this meant. Then I bursted into tears. Suddenly I realized that I could never see Mummy or Daddy, my big brother, or the others. Never again. I wasn't sure if I was more scared or sad. I cried and cried. Time escaped me. I cried myself asleep. In my dreams, there was my big brother. I heard the sound of Daddy shaving bamboo strips from outside the window. And Mummy held me in her arms. Her embrace had been soft and warm, the most reassuring place in the world. It soothed me. There was nothing to be afraid of, no more tears. I got lost in the serene dreamland. How long had passed since then? I woke up and there was the wide-brimmed straw hat. In a white dress, Jasmine looked down at me. The look in her eyes was warm. And then, I was not afraid anymore. I knew I was not alone. That was when our time began. The two of us, we had no one but each other.
茉莉姐姐，这里好安静呢。
Jasmine, it's so quiet here.
因为只有我们2个人嘛。
Of course, it's only us. This is a strange place. No wind or rain intruded, no birds chirping, sun rising or setting. The sky remained motionless, like a dome. It silently kept us company. But it was by no means a humorless world. Though petite, the place had been brimming with an atmosphere of sweetness and purity. It belonged to her. Every day she would open up a thick book and read stories for me. Stories of Miss Duck, Aunt Goose, and the Little Geese. And the story of Mr. Rabbit. That story changed every time. Every time she read it, it had been different. Sometimes Mr. Rabbit would sleep late. Other times he played pranks. He skipped and danced around to make you happy, and he appeared before a crying child to gently wipe her tears away. Huh. Mr. Rabbit. I had my own suspicions. How could one page hold so many different stories? Jasmine smiled and didn't answer my question. She just looked into the distance. There were times I enjoyed lying in Jasmine's lap. In the sweet scent of grass and wildflowers, I counted the clouds on the sky. Sometimes I let her know. I had envied her pretty straw hat. She told me I could try it on when I grew up. That was a long time to wait, heh. Sometimes Jasmine would tell me things about this world. Words like time, lines, and bubbles. I couldn't quite understand all of them. She smiled and said it was fine. When Tangerine grew up, surely it would become as clear as day. She stroked my hair gently like Mom always did. Starting to come together now. Jasmine had been a bit tired lately. She avoided going out, sleeping away days. She also forgot to read me stories. That was fine. I knew enough about how to read, and I could read stories to Jasmine instead. But Mummy had told me in the past, without a lot of exercise, children would not grow tall. Well, Jasmine was a big girl, though. I guess I would be fine with her. Yet it was more than mere weariness of the mind. It seemed that Jasmine was starting to lose control of her body. She became clumsy. At times she fell over, and books could fall from her hands when she read. There was a few times even the pages went flying when she dropped it. Jasmine, was she feeling sick? When I asked her this, she just smiled and shook her head without a word. And then, one day, she brought it up all of a sudden. Would I like to make paper planes? Of course! I had wanted to learn all along, but I couldn't do it well. I ran to the house and pushed a stack of old notebooks in front of Jasmine. Only they had words on them. They were crammed with handwriting. I got a slight headache from looking at them. Would it be better to get some new paper? I hadn't even prepared paper for this. What a pity it was lost. That was fine, Jasmine said, smiling. With words on it, the paper plane would become a letter. The message could go far, far away, riding on the winds. If that was the case, would Mommy and Daddy be able to read my letter? What about my big brother? Jasmine paused briefly. She did not shake her head, nor did she nod.
那小菊会记得姐姐吗？
Tangerine, would you remember me? That went without saying. I would never, ever forget about her. Nothing could change that.
橘子是善良又努力的好孩子呢。
Tangerine is a wonderful girl. I was happy and embarrassed at the same time with the
所以
praise.
呀，姐姐的帽子送给橘子哦。
Hey, you can have my straw hat? Really? Sure, I had wanted it, but I wasn't confident that it was the right person to have
然
it.
后呢，每当看到这帽子的时候，就想起姐姐说的话。
Remember my words every time you see the straw hat, would you? I didn't know what to say, I just stared at her. After a long wait, the papers with words on them all turned into creatures with wings and flew away into the distance. Jasmine made such beautiful paper planes. I was no match for her, so I just bent over and rested my chin on my hands. I watched the paper planes with white wings fly into the sky one after another. Riding on the wind, they could go places far, far away. But there was no wind here. Her white fingers deftly delivered the letters that had wings, leaving simple curves on the screen of the blue sky. And then, they all flew soundlessly to the ground. With the paper planes landing one by one, the light in Jasmine's eyes was getting dim. I had not seen her look like that for a long time, the sorrow and loneliness. She said something I could not understand. At that time, the words were too deep for me. Time, or fate, or duty. Nevertheless, I was willing to try to understand them, if that would cheer her up. But in the end, all I could understand had been one
对不
sentence.
起，
I'm sorry. Almost sobbing, she apologized. Don't cry, don't cry. Imitating Mom, I held her shoulder gently and wiped away her tears. Whatever happened, Tangerine would be by Jasmine's side. All the sadness would go away.
那样就太好了。
I'm happy. When the letter with wings reached where my big brother was, then the three of us could play together again, right? When the time came, we would have a lot of fun together. Yes,
谢谢。
thank you. I chuckled. There was nothing to thank me for. Jasmine was my favorite girl in the whole world. There was no response from her. She was dissolving in my arms, becoming light as a feather. As if dissolving into a soft wind, she faded away. Without a sound, the last paper plane landed somewhere not far away. Tears rolled down my face at the same moment, but I did not weep for long. The paper planes on the ground, all the letters, the words, the messages, when I picked them up, I could still feel the warmth she left behind. From now on, I would have plenty of time. Tangerine would set out to understand it, little by little. What? We got more, guys. Okay, I'm calling this episode quits. We are gonna be right back at it, though, with this purple plane, seeing what is going to happen, what this is about. So, thank you guys for watching this far. Make sure to tune in for the next episode of this. And with that, see y'all peeps. This be Chicken Man out. Bye-bye.